It's hard to line up the audio.
Drew, what were you saying about Skip Bayless?
He called out my boy Damian Lillard.
What did he say?
I honestly don't even know what he said. I just know
He said he's not buying Dame time.
Okay.
Oh, is that what he said? I knew he said something because Dame put it on his Instagram.
Okay. Was that after
And
Damian
then-
Lillard missed those 2 free throws to lose his team the game?
Yes, it was the day after.
Okay.
And then Dame told him to stop saying things behind his back when you're on air and text it to me like a man. And then he said Skip texted him and said he said all that stuff out of depression. And then Dame dropped 61.
Dame
In a
looks
must-win.
like a man
I'm
possessed.
on the
He's scored
Skip
like-
Bayless side of
deep
this.
book.
I'm on the Skip Bayless side of this.
You haven't been watching.
He missed 2 free throws to lose the game for Portland
Mm-hmm.
in a clutch playoff time. When he's fringe 8th seed in the West at the prime of his career, he hasn't done anything. And Skip Bayless said he's not buying how good that he is.
He
He's
went
not
to the
doing
Western
anything.
Conference Finals last year.
Whatever, and got swept.
His
right?
game yesterday to get the W was absolutely insane.
And
Yeah.
then wait. So Skip Bayless calls him out, and then Damian Lillard says stop saying stuff behind his back when he tweeted or when he said it on air. That's not behind his back. He's nationally broadcasting his opinion to millions of people.
He said to say it to
It's
his
the
face.
opposite of behind his back. Lillard is a very sensitive player.
Ugh. As
I
soon
don't know.
as Steven tweeted that and Dame responded, it was like as
You mean Skip?
as Skip
Oh, so it was
responded.
a tweet.
Once a
Yeah,
podcast,
it was right when Skip's show was going live, so Skip knows what he's doing.
Yeah, for sure. And Dame in a must-win dropped 61 on like 60% shooting. So
Can we talk about football?
Yeah. We got an exciting division today. We got the
Ew.
AFC. What are they? Are they
North?
the North?
Yeah.
North. We got the Ravens. They're coming in with a hot quarterback. We're going to discuss the Lamar Millers, the Lamar Jacksons, the Bengals, the Browns, the Steelers.
The
The
Lamar
Browns.
Millers.
The
He's
Browns have a
relevant, just
great
not in this division.
receiving
Kinda.
core. The Bengals have a rookie quarterback, and the Steelers, who the hell knows what's going on there? But I'm sure Mike Tomlin will figure it out. Do you guys want to start here with the Ravens Super Bowl favorites last year? Were they?
They were
Definitely
not
at
the
one
Super Bowl
point.
favorites last year. No way. Going into the season, would be the Patriots and the Chiefs. At one
Yeah.
point, during the playoffs, probably.
I'll take it.
They're
I'll
probably
take
Super
it.
Bowl favorites going into the playoffs.
Um,
I'll kick it off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have much to say about the Ravens. That's kind of why I wanted to take it. Lamar Jackson is not interesting to talk about. He's just not, because as far as a fantasy football perspective goes, because unless you're doing redraft and dynasty, somebody owns him in your league. They're not moving him unless you pay number 1 overall quarterback price plus something probably on top of that.
Yeah.
And you're not most likely going to be paying way, way, way over the top for him when you could probably get a cheaper version in Deshaun Watson or Kyler Murray, way cheaper, that has maybe the similar upside.
I agree.
So Lamar just feels like a stalemate. He's the best quarterback in the league for win now. But having said that, it's not that interesting to talk about him because I don't see the value in offering trades for him or trying to sell him because the price points
In
don't think are
redraft,
matchable.
I saw he was going just a few picks over Patrick Mahomes. How do you guys feel about that?
I would
take him.
I don't know. I mean, it's a toss-up.
Yeah.
I think
Patrick Mahomes will get you more passing yards and everything. But
I think
Depends
that's
on
more
you.
dependable, though. I mean, Lamar he's rushing at like, what, he have 176 rushing attempts last year? That's
might have had
absolutely
more.
Insane. No, he did. I have it right here.
Yeah, I was
He
going to say
did have
176 seems
1,200.
like a number that he's reading right off of the screen.
That's
he
the
did have
all-time
1,200
record
rushing yards
for a
though.
quarterback.
Look, I'm not expecting him to maybe get 1,200 rushing yards, but he's going to push for 1,000 rushing yards, no doubt about it.
Yep.
Every year that he's healthy.
And if he's going to push for 1,000 rushing yards, then Patrick Mahomes is going to struggle to keep up with him just because he's going to have to, depending on league settings, 6-point passing touchdowns changes it. But Lamar Jackson is going to rush for probably 5 or 8 more rushing touchdowns than Patrick Mahomes will and rush for 800 more yards than him. So Patrick Mahomes is going to make up for that by all in passing yards. I don't see it. I think I would take.
Do you know Lamar was still the QB7 or QB11 with 0 rushing yards and 0 rushing touchdowns?
Really?
Yeah, because of his insane touchdown and
Well,
turnover
what,
ratio.
I wonder
Wow.
what RB he was.
I
Would he
wonder.
have
I didn't check
36
that.
touchdowns and 2 interceptions?
36
on the
touchdowns,
season?
6 interceptions.
6 interceptions. He did have like 150 less attempts than say Baker in this division.
He did. He
Throwing
doesn't pass
attempts.
as much.
Anybody
A
else?
lot
got
of play action.
Anybody on the Ravens they want to talk about? I got like a squeaker. That's it. Just because like I said, the Ravens.
Oh,
aren't that interesting to me.
I got a squeaker. Before AB was AB, he was Antonio Brown, and before DD was DD, he was Devin Duvernay. You're hearing it here first on the podcast. I mean, this guy was out of this world on the combine. I was super hyped for him, and
There it
then
is.
yeah, hey, what's wrong with the combine? He had an amazing last year at Texas. He seems like such a good pick for value.
You're a combine warrior, Vaso. Everybody
I
knows it.
love the combine. I really do.
Listen, Devin Duvernay, I like him as a profile, but in Dynasty, just a late round ad. That's it.
Oh yeah, without a
I
doubt.
really like Duvernay. I think he'll show a little bit this year, and I think he has the potential of a Steve Smith Sr. type player. But I just don't really like wide receivers in Baltimore.
That's fair.
They spread the ball around. The only pass catcher I'd want on this team is Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's kind of what I was going to say. The other pass catcher I wanted to talk about, because I thought he was at least interesting, is Marquise Brown.
Yeah.
I actually think he's being overvalued a little bit. I looked around at a couple different sites. He was ranked anywhere from 32 to 36, I think, somewhere in that range, sometimes a little higher. He's going around the players like Michael Gallup. I'd rather have Michael Gallup. Adam Thielen. I'd rather have Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
Oh wow, he's going that high.
Yeah, and Mike
is,
Williams. He's 7 spots ahead of Mike Williams. Give me Mike Williams a full round later than Marquise Brown, and he's produced over 1,000 yards. Marquise Brown has a ton of upside, but a little high price tag.
Yeah.
For his
You guys know I'm
risk.
a big Brandon Cooks fan, but Hollywood Brown just screams the next Deshaun Jackson to me. He's just going to be boomer bust
Yep.
every single week. He's going to have those 35-point games, but the next week's going to get you 3 points.
Yeah.
How do you guys think J.K. Dobbins is going to do this year? Because Mark Ingram's had a really good year last year. He had 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns.
I think he's not going to Miles Sanders it. Miles Sanders it, meaning take over the role halfway through the season and become the premier back. I don't think he's going to do that. I think instead all season long he's going to churn out that 10, 12 carries. Some games he's going to be hot and get more, maybe 15 or 18, and then they're going to target him 5, 8 times in the passing game.
Yeah, so kind of play like an Elvin Kamara role to Mark
They
Ingram.
like Mark Ingram. They like Lamar Jackson. It's
Yeah.
really tough to see J.K. Dobbins pushing for 1,000 yards rushing when he's got Mark Ingram and Lamar Jackson in the backfield.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you guys: do you take J.K. Dobbins or Marquise Brown?
In
In-
just straight up,
In Dynasty, I'd rather
J.K.
have
Dobbins
Dobbins.
for sure.
I'd
In
have Dobbins,
redraft,
too.
I think I might even take Dobbins as well,
Yeah.
actually.
I
If
think
he-
I'd take him
I
in
agree.
redraft as well.
I could see Dobbins. I mean, they rush the ball more than any league and any team in the league. I could see him having like 1,000 total yards and
Yeah, I think
10-ish
Lamar
touchdowns.
only had just over 3,000 passing yards
Yeah, he
last
did.
year,
He had
so
3,100.
there's not a lot of room to eat there.
So they were the best team in the league last year and won more games than anybody, number 1 seed going into the playoffs. Over under set going into the next season, 11.5 wins. Where do you guys think that's going to land this year?
The way they dominated the football offensively last year, I can completely see them being a 12-win team. So I'm buying
Yeah, and
11.5.
so especially with the reports coming out that Lamar's been working on his passing all offseason. If he improves as a passer, I think they can easily get 12 wins.
I'm going to take the under.
Interesting.
I see them about an 11-win team. Listen,
Yeah.
the NFL is a hard league unless you're Tom Brady and the Patriots with Bill Belichick. It's really hard to repeat great seasons. You see that over the past everything. I think the 49ers are going to struggle to repeat this year. I think the Ravens are going to struggle. Not that they're not going to be a good team, one of the better teams still in the league, but look at the RG3 type mold when
Yeah.
you get the full season of tape. And now everybody in the whole NFL has been focusing all offseason on how do we stop Lamar Jackson type play.
Yeah,
And the Ravens,
he's going to regress for sure.
1 or 2 teams figures out how to stop him. They put the blueprint out. Every other team in the NFL maybe can't stop him, but they know what it takes to contain him. Again, not saying he's not going to compete for an MVP because he probably will, and the Ravens will probably be one of the better teams in the league. But still at 10, 11 wins, you're easily in the playoffs there. I think that's where they're going to fall.
Yeah, I don't think they can break 11 wins unless Lamar improves as a passer, as a pocket passer. I
Yeah,
mean, he's
he's
obviously
gonna
a
need
good
to
passer
for
with a strong
sure.
arm, but as a pocket passer, he'll need to improve.
Let's move on here to the Bengals, the Joey Burrow-led first overall pick Bengals.
That sounds sexy.
That does sound
I
sexy.
loved Joey in college. He looked absolutely amazing. He totally lit it up, and I think he's going to be super good on the Bengals. They have a great wide receiving core, a
They
perfect
do.
for him to just walk into and be, one of the top quarterbacks and set the rookie record for passing touchdowns.
I agree, and I think the league is so obsessed with big arm quarterbacks. I'm more into quarterbacks who are really accurate and show the accuracy in college and can make any throw with enough arm strength. So, I mean, not like a Teddy Bridgewater, like an Alex Smith, but somebody like the Drew Brees type profile. Like somebody who doesn't have a huge arm but can make every single throw with enough strength on it, but just pinpoint accuracy. And that's what Joey Burrow is. Like his accuracy, he's completed like 78.5% of his passes last year.
No,
It's
I love
insane.
Burrow.
Yeah, I like him too. His price is too high for me. Fantasy Pros, I've been relying on that site because, a lot of them have paywalls. You got to pay whatever to
Yeah.
get through, and it's a pretty popular site. So they have him at QB 10. That seems pretty high when they have somebody like,
Yeah.
I hate to keep going back on Matthew Stafford, but Matthew Stafford at QB 15, Kirk Cousins is at QB 17. Now I'd rather straight up have Joe Burrow versus Kirk Cousins, maybe even Joe Burrow versus Matthew Stafford, but you're
Dynasty,
taking him
yeah.
in 5 spots, quarterback spots later. That means in startup draft, you're getting him
That's several rounds,
2,
yeah.
3, maybe even 4 rounds later.
Yeah.
Give me Matthew Stafford 3, 4 rounds later than Joe Burrow or even Kirk Cousins. I like him. I think his price is too high. It seems like his upside is already built into the price that you're paying for him.
Yeah.
Same with Clyde Edwards, some of the rookie hype that kind of always seems to happen, but it's like you're not getting Joe Burrow without paying as if he's already played a very good season in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm not touching Joe Burrow in redraft. At all.
The Joe Burrow owner in our league wouldn't even trade me Joe Burrow straight up for Kyler Murray, which I thought was
That's the
ridiculous.
thing. I'd rather have Kyler Murray straight up. Just
I
really
think
quick,
most
Clyde,
people would.
Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's ADP is at 16 right now on Fantasy Pros.
Yeah, exactly.
nuts.
It's insane.
It's baked. It's just what I said. His upside is baked into his price.
Yeah.
And whenever that's the case, it's such a risky buy because even if Clyde at that price, or say Joe Burrow at this price, to a lesser example, just don't quite pan out. Maybe they're just pretty good. They're already taking a hit in value.
Yeah.
Even in their rookie year, they just don't look exceptional. They just look okay. Their ADP is going to fall. And what are you expecting a rookie to look better than just decent? It seems risky to buy somebody that high.
I really like Joe Mixon as a buy on this offense. I really liked him coming out of college, and I think he's been struggling because he's been on a struggling team.
With a bad line, yeah.
Yeah, but I think he's got plenty of talent, and his value is probably one of the lowest it's ever been right now. So if you can snag Joe Mixon, on the relatively cheap, that's somebody I'd be looking to buy here.
I like Joe Mixon. I think if Burrow proves to be legit, it's going to open up a lot of play actions for the passing game and also a lot of running space for Mixon because they'll have to respect the quarterback. And even in a down year last year, he had 1,100 yards. He just didn't score a lot of touchdowns. He only had 4 touchdowns, or 8 total touchdowns. He had 5 rushing and 3 in the air. But he still finishes RB13. So I think that's his floor. I think like last year in a down year for the team in general, obviously because they won one game, I think.
Oh god.
But I think like that 1,100 yard rushing with like 300, maybe 400 passing or receiving yards is like his floor, and he has a floor of a back end RB1. 2 years ago he was RB10, last year was RB13, but I like Mixon a lot going forward. I think he's a solid buy low if you can get him for like a mid first in Dynasty. I would totally pick him up in the second round in a redraft league, and I think I'll be able to a lot this year. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I like him too. It's kind of similar with the price baked in, the upside that I was talking about just before, but not quite as much because he does have great upside. Here's my thing: is he's now been in the league. This is going on 4 years, and he's yet to jump off the page. He's been good to, even in times, very good, but he's yet to be like, wow, that guy is an elite runner. And it seems like for some reason Mixon has held on hugely inflated value for a very long time.
He has.
He always seems to be top 6 or 7 dynasty running backs, and he's never seeming to achieve that price point. Now, he's only 24. He's had some good seasons in the past. I don't doubt that he's going to be good moving forward. You say, though, his floor is that kind of low end RB1. Maybe that's kind of more of his ceiling. Maybe he floats in the more RB 12 to 15 range with upside of getting into the 8 or 9 range, but just kind of floats around that because it seems like season after season, Mixon is just always coming up a little short of expectation. And I get on a bad offense and all that. It's just, I don't know. I'm not 100% convinced on him. I mean, you're going to be taking him as a top probably 6, 7 running back, I would say.
I mean,
maybe a little later. If you can get him at like 10 or 11, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
But
If he doesn't improve as the offense improves, then I'll agree with you. But I
That's
mean,
true.
last year being RB13 on that dumpster fire of an offense, it makes me feel like that's his floor.
That's
and
fair.
that's the worst team's going to be in over the next few years.
Yeah, I just like him because I just think the offense is just going to be better
Yeah.
and it's just going to produce more touchdowns. And
I kind of wanted to talk about the Bengals ADP as a whole or just look at the players. And this is why it's kind of difficult. And I've been kind of wavering on the fence a little bit on this Bengals and who do I like?
Yeah.
All of their ADPs, I think, are set relatively well.
I think so, too.
Boyd is wide receiver in the mid-20s. That seems pretty reasonable.
I think he's going to outperform that, too.
Mixon is right around RB 6 to 9. That
Yeah.
seems reasonable. AJ Green is at wide receiver 50. That might be a little high because you could get players around Anthony Miller, Denzel Mims, Curtis Samuel, Julian Edelman, Marvin Jones are even around there. Sammy Watkins
Marvin
is even
Jones
at
is
60.
that near there?
Sammy
Excuse me,
Watkins.
63. That's 13 wide receivers later than you could get AJ Green. So AJ Green's price is maybe a little high for me.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I think most of these receivers and running back and even Joe Burrow all have pretty accurate price points, which is makes it tough to buy or sell them because when everybody's valuing them the same, nobody can really make out a deal because everybody's similar.
Now that AJ Green stepped away and he was really the wide receiver one, he was out last year. Where do you guys see these wide receivers finishing this year in terms of on their team?
I think AJ Green's going to have a bounce back year, especially with all the reports coming out of camp saying he looks like his old self. Took all of last year off. When all those rumors were going out saying he was healthy, he just didn't want to come back too early.
Yeah.
I think he's finally going to be healthy. His game isn't a game that relies on athleticism. He's just really smooth as an athlete, good route runner, has really good hands.
Speaking of athleticism, let's not sleep on AJ Green as an athlete. That guy
No,
is a
without a
monster.
doubt, but he's not like the
I
type
think-
of athlete that pops off like a Julio
Especially
Jones.
now that he's like 32.
Yeah.
1A, 1B situation with him and Tyler Boyd.
Yeah.
And then Higgins will get in work, and then John Ross will be healthy for 8, 10 games and, have
Yeah.
a couple big games. But that's
Yeah.
about it.
This is John Ross's contract year.
Yeah, I think he's a sneaky buy low.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get him for a late third, easily.
Yeah.
And if he blows up this year because he has immense potential, his like physical
Yeah.
potential is insane. College
He
production
was
is
a
insane.
first round wide
First round, he's
receiver.
first wide receiver taken in his class.
Since
And if he blows up this year with Joe Burrow, throwing him a deep ball.
we seem to be talking highly of the Bengals, over under 5 wins is where Vegas has them at 5.
It's tough
5
for me
even?
because I know that they're going to struggle with the rookie quarterback. 5 wins in this division is totally possible. The Browns have been, who knows, flip of a coin every week. And same with the Steelers. They've struggled. But 5 wins in the National Football League. It's 5 or 5.5.
5.
Boy, that's a good line. They know what they're doing. I guess I'll take the under here, just because of the rookie quarterback. I could see that costing them some games and
Some good defense in this division, too. Does 5 count as an under, or is it just a push?
No, it's push.
I'm going to say 5.
I'm going to say 5-2, actually.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could get some pretty positive odds on that if you just took 5 exactly. I think that's a good
I
number.
feel like
for
you
them.
could. I mean, the Steelers might struggle a little bit on offense, but their defense is so good.
Yeah.
yeah, they are.
It's going to be rough for the Bengals.
Minka
they're not gonna beat the
Fitzpatrick,
Ravens.
Fitzmagic is amazing.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here to the Baker-led Browns.
Ooh.
Ooh, I like this team.
Do
I
you
like
guys
all
like
these
Njoku
teams.
here behind Hooper at all?
No,
No.
I don't like Njoku at all.
Not
I-
even as
no.
a sneaky buy low in his contract year.
No, I mean he showed. I guess showed a little bit his second year.
His
but
second year, he had like 600 yards. I think.
Yeah,
If you're buying him as tight end 20, maybe.
even that I feel like is too high because I like
He's got good
who's a
upside.
tight end 20? Like Ian Thomas. I
Yeah.
guess I buy him over Ian Thomas.
Exactly.
Mike,
Or like Will Disley.
I don't know who tight end 20 is.
But no, I'm not. I don't even know. I like Hooper a lot as a tight end too. I don't even know if I'm buying him this year.
I would not buy Hooper this year.
Neither would I.
He's probably not going to finish top 5.
No,
they'll probably use a lot of 2 tight ends.
Yeah.
I imagine
that, and obviously with Odell, Jarvis Landry, they're running backs.
Yeah, Chubb.
Plus,
I can't see Hooper
Baker's a
getting
downgrade of a
targets
passing
and
weapon
Donovan
from Matt
Peoples-Jones.
Ryan.
He
Sure.
is.
Yeah.
Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, Hooper had 97 targets last year himself in 13 games, and the Browns tight ends as a whole group last year had 69 targets, which is nice. But
it's going to be tough to reach that number again for Hooper.
I mean, you could argue that Hooper's a lot better than tight ends they had. I think like Demetrius Harris led their team in targets last year's tight end.
Hooper's honestly one of the best tight ends in the league.
Yeah, I like him a
standpoint.
lot. I've always been a fan. But I mean, with Jarvis and Odell each getting 130 targets last year, they easily will again this year if they stay healthy. Hunt got 45 targets in 8 games, so he'll probably get 80 to 90 targets again next year because they've been splitting about wide a lot too in camp. So I can see them using Hunt the way that Kyle Shanahan used Tevin Coleman, Devontae Freeman in Atlanta.
yeah.
They split out Tevin Coleman a lot in the slot and moved him around a lot in the offense. And then Chubb will get 40 targets probably.
Tevin Coleman was so cool when they used him like that in Atlanta.
He was really cool like that.
The Browns, they had Kareem Hunt. You know, he had an incident while he was on Kansas City, and we just had Darius Geis over in Washington perform, you know, allegedly terrible acts, which is so sad to hear from a fantasy perspective because, you know, firstly, that's a terrible thing, and then secondly, they put so much into this guy, and every year he's really let them down. What do we see Kareem Hunt doing after this year? This is a contract year for him. Do you think teams will be anxious at all because of the history he's had? Do you think that's gonna?
I think it's weird.
It is weird.
I think he'll get a nice contract somewhere. I don't know, maybe $7 million-ish, $7 million for a year or two. He'll just constantly be on these 2, maybe 3-year, like $25 million with $12 million guaranteed or something like that. That has him on a short leash, easily cuttable, paying him pretty decent money. And honestly, as bad as it is, he's going to be a bargain. He's going to be a great asset for teams in the future because he's always going to have that over his head, and he's always going to lose leverage at the time of negotiations because of that. And a team is going to get a very good running back, a top.
He is very good.
At one point, he was top 5 running back in the NFL, so he's pretty
top
much
dynasty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he's a top 12 running back talent in the NFL. You're going to be getting him at a low end price. That's exactly what you want in running back. So some team is going to get a steal out of him. I think the Browns might even try to keep him.
I think they might, because I think him and Chubb's skill sets couple each other really well. But there's so many young running backs coming into the league. I feel like a team might just rather use a 2nd or 3rd round pick on a running back rather than pay Kareem Hunt $20 million.
I've got a couple players I need to talk about on the Browns. Baker is number 1.
Sure.
I'll be brief on him. I think he's a super, super obvious buy. Everybody's really low on him. I get it. He had a bad season last year. But if we think about it, just the year prior to that, he broke the rookie passing touchdown record. In
Peyton Manning's record.
Yeah, I think 14 games he played that year. So, again, remarkable upside. And he's in a new offense. Freddie Kitchens, the Browns organization was really... I shouldn't just say last year, but last year was really poorly run. They almost let Baker Mayfield pick the head coach because Freddie Kitchens was a good guy and Baker's friend and a decent offensive coordinator. Baker said, I like this guy, I'm vouching for this guy, and really went hard for him, and that's pretty much why they ended up hiring him. That turned out to be a mess because Freddie Kitchens is just a terrible coach. Well, now they brought in Ed Stefanski from the Minnesota O coordinator, who's done a remarkable job with the Minnesota offense.
Yeah.
Made Kirk Cousins look like a top-end quarterback at times. Obviously, he has his limitations, but I just think that that's going to be a reinvigorated Baker Mayfield. You got to temper expectations. I don't think he's top 5 upside really at this point. Top 10, top 12, though, is easily attainable, especially with how young he is, 1 year removed from being the Kyler Murray of this year. The, oh my gosh, Baker Mayfield is the guy that
anything to get the next Aaron Rodgers.
His ADP was like top 5 QB at one point.
Yeah, like he's next Brett Favre.
Yeah, I agree with your take on Baker totally. I expect Odell to have a bounce back year here.
That's the other
Bounce
guy
back
that I
after
wanted.
he had 1,000 yards.
He didn't even really have that bad of a year last year.
No, he really
Just
didn't. He
didn't
just didn't
score.
have his Odell type year.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to go out and buy Odell Beckham Jr. in their dynasty leagues because I think he's an outstanding buy. I'm glad that you
Yeah.
brought him out. His ADP is at wide receiver 12 right now. It's got to be the lowest it's been maybe in his whole career
Probably.
outside of his rookie year. He's behind. I do like these players, but questions marks are surrounding all of them. Kenny Galladay, AJ Brown, and JuJu. Odell is behind all of those players, and he's just in front of DK Metcalf and Calvin Ridley.
Wow.
That blows my mind. I would take
Yeah,
Odell probably over all of those players.
me too.
Yeah, so would I.
Kenny G, AJ Brown, for me, it's tough. I do like both
I
of
love
those players
AJ
a lot.
Brown, honestly.
But Odell is presenting an outstanding upside, just like Drew said, top
Yeah.
5 upside. He's underperformed. I get it. He's been injured. Baker Mayfield is coming into a new offense, like I said, with Ed Stefanski leading it. His floor is 1,000 yards.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
proved that.
His
Unless he
up-
gets hurt.
Yeah, unless he gets hurt.
And
Even
he
when
said
got
he
hurt,
was hurt last year.
Even
so
when he
He
got
had a
hurt,
sports
he had 1,000
hernia.
yards.
He had a sports hernia, so at 1,000 yards.
His upside,
insane.
his upside is the number 1 overall wide receiver.
Yeah.
So go out and buy him, or at least kick the tires. If you got an owner who is a little frustrated with his past few years, because he has had some down years,
Yeah.
see if you can get him.
No, I like him too. I also think Jarvis Landry is a perennially underrated wide receiver. I
Yep.
mean,
He's so
right now
good.
his dynasty ADP is wide receiver 29, but since 2015 he's never finished lower than wide receiver 18.
I wonder if he's ever going to fall off.
Honestly,
I don't know.
He always
he's
feels
not
like he's
fast
about
at
to.
all.
No,
I mean,
he ran like a 4.65 at the combine or
he
something.
could just keep playing his game for another
His-
10 years.
his game
he's
ages
not
so well.
athletic.
He has the
Feels like
same
he's
game at
always
Julian
about
Edelman.
to fall off, though, I swear.
He looks like he is, but then he comes back with another 90 catch, 1,100 yards, 6 touchdown season.
Did you guys watch Hard Knocks? Did you guys watch him in Hard Knocks at all?
No.
He had a great speech in the wide receiver
Oh, I saw
room
that.
one time. Yeah. Are you guys anybody watching Hard Knocks this year?
Isn't it on tonight?
It was on last night. It's
Oh.
the
Oh, it was the
Chargers
debut,
and the
wasn't it?
Rams. Yeah, it was probably
Give me
one
your-
of the weakest episodes.
Give me your HBO. Let me watch it.
Yeah, I'll get you on it. Let's move on
Hang
here.
on, hang on.
Ooh.
Over
you got
under.
another?
Over under on the Browns, 8.5.
Under.
I'll take the over.
I'll
I
take
think they're going to 7
Under.
wins, 7 to 9 I think.
7,
is
9, 8, and 8.
Where they're going to sit.
Yeah, I'll
This
take the
is
under as well.
this is probably my second favorite team in the division behind the Ravens.
I enjoy this from a
Yeah.
fantasy perspective. They remind me so much of the Lions, though. It's insane.
Yeah.
They have beat themselves a lot.
Yeah.
But they have, with Myles Garrett coming back, they definitely could. I could see 9, 10
Yeah.
wins is
Mhm.
definitely within conversation. So I don't hate that 8.5 number.
Let's move
they did
on
bounce
here
back
to
second
the
after last
to the Steelers. They got some nice up and comers, Juju, Deontay. Those could be fantastic breakout wide receivers this year. They got James Conner. Where do you guys see this team? Or how do you see it? I guess.
I don't know. This team just seems so boring to me, and I don't know why. I don't know why it's boring to me. It just is. It's funny that you said Deontay's an up and comer because did you know James Washington had more yards than him last year?
Wow.
Ooh,
I had
spicy.
no idea
Yeah, so
that was the
last
case.
year. Deontay had 59 catches off 92 targets for 680 yards and 5 touchdowns. James Washington had 44 catches off 80 targets for 735 yards and 3 touchdowns.
So is James.
So
did we just learn that James Washington's the buy? On the Steelers?
I mean, James Washington did have some questionable drops last year, so he could have had more yards. But I think this whole Deontay is written in stone as a wide receiver 2 of this team, which is very valuable because they pass it so much, especially Big Ben coming back. I think James Washington's right there, too. I think they're going to rotate in a lot, the wide receiver 2. I feel like James Washington's game as a vertical wide receiver complements Juju's game a lot better than Deontay's because Deontay's a lot like Juju. I don't know. I wouldn't really touch any of them, especially in Dynasty or Redraft, or especially in Redraft. Dynasty, I might take a stab at one of them, but I think it's the debate should go further than it actually is right now.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually. It's surprising. I'm all over your side of that coin. I
Yeah.
like the James Washington side. He's actually my baller of the day. He
Nice.
listen. He had upside coming out of college. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees his athletic profile. They see his makeup. They see his talent, his explosiveness. His rookie, listen to the improvements he made. This is what you want out of a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the improvements you make from a rookie year to a sophomore year. Catches, he goes from 16 to 44. Yards, 217 to 735. His average yards per catch, 13.6 to 16.7. Touchdowns, 1 to 3. He literally improved in every category, and he improved dramatically in every category. Even the average, he went up over 3 yards per catch in average, and he had more catches and more yards. That is tough to do. I really like James Washington as a buy. He's wide receiver 64 right now on Fantasy Pros, so...
And we've seen that team produce 2 wide receivers for sure.
It's
almost
tough,
every year.
It's tough to say, yeah, Ben's going to support 2 wide receivers for sure. It's tough to say he's going to be anything more than just a dart throw, a bench player, but that's the price you're getting him at. And I think he's got wide receiver 3 upside. I could see him being wide receiver 34, 30 by the end of the season.
Agree.
Push for, 1,000 yards, maybe 8 touchdowns. He really ticks his touchdowns up, but I don't know.
JuJu was one of the best wide receivers just last year. I guess 2 years ago.
Yeah,
this
2 years
past
ago.
year, he was dealing a little bit with injuries. With Big Ben coming back, do you think he could be a wide receiver 1 again?
Yeah, low
Yeah.
end. I think that's where I pin him. His price is too high for me. He's like wide receiver 9 or like 7 or something. I'm not paying that price. I like him. I would much prefer a DJ Moore, AJ Brown.
All the wide receivers in that range, I would
who were we
prefer.
just talking about earlier that I said I would prefer Odell,
Yep.
Kenny G, all those players I'm preferring over JuJu.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know if he'll ever be able to repeat his year 2 years ago.
1,400 yards season.
111 catches and 7 touchdowns.
It helps having AB on your team.
It does, but I mean that narrative's also kind of false too because no other wide receiver 2 performed like that next to AB.
Yeah.
So JuJu is definitely talented.
No, he's obviously good. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about James Conner?
I wanted to talk about him. I'm glad you brought him up. I think he's a great buy in Dynasty.
Yeah.
I looked up his price. He's in the mid 20s.
Yeah,
everywhere.
low to mid 20s everywhere.
24, 26 ADP.
Top 5 upside.
Around Chris Carson, Devin Singletary, even Keyshawn
Gross.
Vaughn.
Gross.
I saw him on a couple
I would have
lists.
him way before those guys.
4 to 5 spots behind David Montgomery.
Gross.
That's gross to me. I am not a fan of David Montgomery.
Maybe
in the third down punt in the past. I did not like him.
They didn't like the injury last year.
I think that's all it is because when he's
He
on the
is
field,
injured,
Yeah,
though.
he's
he's
amazing.
an elite runner.
He's
Yeah.
injury prone. He's just, it seems like 15.
He seemed like Le'Veon Bell too.
RB 15 is his floor. If
When
you're
he's
getting
healthy,
him,
yeah.
if you're getting him for low end RB2 prices, plug him in. Expect high RB2, low end RB1 production, with even chances for more.
Yeah.
He's like a Chris Carson
He's
to
a
me,
league winner.
but just a little bit better than Chris Carson.
I don't know. I was a big fan of him coming out of college. He's just a really good, if he would have played 15 years ago, he'd be the kind of running back teams would build their offense around. Just like a super strong, great vision. It's just injury prone, like you said. Speaking of him being injury prone, who would you take as his handcuff this year? Would you take Anthony McFarland, who they took in the 4th round, who I like? He was super explosive at Maryland. But he is undersized, like 5'8", and 200 pounds, I think. Or would you stick with Benny Snell or Jalen? Not Benny Snell.
Not Jalen.
I'd probably take Anthony McFarland
Yeah,
as well.
I would as well. I wouldn't take really any of them. Jesus, that's a rough handcuff to be looking for.
Anthony McFarland's going to surprise. I think his explosiveness pairs really well with James Conner, and I think he could turn some heads his rookie year and maybe get. I mean, he might only have like 400
when Benny
yards,
Snell was
but
on the field. What did he produce in fantasy? Like
nothing.
4 points.
He was not very good.
Yeah, not interested in Benny Snell.
Big Ben is who I kind of want to finish up with the Steelers because he's kind of controversial. I feel like
think
he's who knows what's going to happen coming off
Getting
that
up there now, 38.
injury, super old.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about him? Here's his 2 prices. In Dynasty, he's QB right around 29, between 25 and 30 is where you're seeing him, higher 20s usually. In Redraft, he's at QB 16. What do you guys feel about those price points?
I mean, Dynasty, if I was a win now team, I would definitely go for it. I like redraft is weird for me because my quarterback situation in redraft is I just wait till like the 11th and 12th round to take who's there because I feel like
Okay, imagine we're playing a super flex redraft league.
oh, that's fair. I don't know. Like it's hard for me to rely on Big Ben because kind of like when we were talking about the even year Matt Ryan's is a real thing.
Yeah.
Away Big Ben is a real thing. He
Yeah.
performs significantly worse away from Heinz Field, and I don't want that every other game.
Yeah.
I've never been a big fan of him in fantasy. I don't think I've ever owned him in my 10 years playing fantasy, so I think I would stay away from him. But if you're a win now team in Dynasty, he does. I feel like that's a good quarterback to get.
Big Ben's had some top 5 finishes.
For sure.
When he's played and he's been healthy, he's been pretty good. He does, love to toss the rock.
Yeah, in Dynasty, I'm in on him as a buy and a win now team. Obviously, you're not going to be buying him as a rebuild team, but if you can get him for pennies on the dollar, he's a great upside player. I'm so far out on him as redraft price.
Yeah.
QB 16, he's right around Stafford and Jared Goff. You can get 4 to 5 spots later.
Wow.
I'll take both those players all day over question mark. Who even knows if Roethlisberger's going to be healthy?
In redraft, I would rather take a dart throw with Drew Lock than Big Ben. That might be a very hot take.
That's a hot take.
But I think I'd rather take a dart throw with Drew Lock than
That's
Big Ben.
close. Remember Peyton Manning came back off that neck surgery and had 53 touchdowns.
But Big Ben's not Peyton Manning.
That's true.
Yeah.
Before we move on, there is one more player I want to talk about. How do you guys think Chase Claypool is going to do this year? Because he was a second-round pick and has an insane athletic profile. And apparently he's been doing really good in practice.
Yeah, I think he's going to be one of those players that sparks. You're going to see some good plays from him, but just like you said, athletic profile. Those players are going to struggle, especially their first season, almost like a DJ Chark.
Yeah.
They're going to. It's tough to just come into the NFL and just be more athletic than everybody because everybody that you're playing up against is the best athlete in the entire world.
Yeah. Do you think he has any chance of surpassing Deontay and James Washington this year as wide receiver too?
No.
Not this year.
Well, next year.
Maybe.
Sure.
Well,
that's
James
pretty
Washington
open
might
wide
not even be
receiver
there
2
next year,
position
or
for
it'll be
me.
the year after that.
This is
Yeah.
his third year, so it'll be the year after that.
So, I don't think he will this year at least. Maybe next year.
Yeah, I was never a big fan of Claypool, honestly. Like watching his film in college, he doesn't use his size. I feel like
I would take a cheap James Washington over a more pricey Chase Claypool.
that's who I feel like me and you are on the same side. Where if I was
Yeah.
buying the wide receiver 2 in Pittsburgh, I would go for James Washington over
'Cause he's
Deontay
cheaper.
Johnson or Chase. Yeah,
And I think similar upside.
What do
Yeah, I
you think
think it's similar
Deontay
upside.
Johnson's price is here?
I think you're gonna have to pay an early second to get him.
I
know
agree.
why.
I don't think he's worth it.
I'm not sure he is either. But the dynasty owner is not gonna sell him for a dart throw second, a
Yeah.
competing team second. No, I don't think so.
and I wouldn't touch him in redraft. I would take JuJu and James Conner in redraft. Those are the only dudes I would even touch in redraft on this team.
What do you guys think? I'm gonna ask you. The Steelers win total over under is.
I think their defense is really good.
I'm gonna say 6.9, which is 6.5.
I think their over under is 8.5.
The over under is 9. Good call, Drew.
Yeah, I think they're going to be around there. I think they're going to be over. I think they're going to get 10 wins. Big Ben coming back, their defense is top notch. I think Big Ben and that defense can lead them 10 wins.
I agree on that. I'm banging on the Steelers this year. I think they're a 10-win team.
I will take the under.
Yes,
Because-
It's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
6.5.
Actually, a little bitch.
Didn't they win 7 games last year with Duck Hodges and the revolving door of
And
Duck
Mason
Hodges
Rudolph?
and Mason Rudolph with a concussion?
Like
every other
we
game?
were saying, Big Ben is now 38 years old, and there's got to be some regression somewhere, and I see it.
That defense with TJ Watt.
Big Ben regressing to half of Big Ben is still twice as good as the quarterbacks they had last year.
Yeah, and Big Ben's
That's
last
fair.
healthy season 2 years ago, he's passed for 4,000 yards. He had 5,000 yards and 34 touchdowns.
All right, I've got kind of a cool question for you guys here. Since we just kind of wrapped up, we talked about every team in this division. This division is a pretty cool division to talk about for quarterback-wise because they've got the best quarterback in the NFL for fantasy purposes in Lamar Jackson. If we take Lamar Jackson out of the conversation, so we're talking about the 3 other quarterbacks, 4 if you want to throw Duck Hodges or Mason Rudolph in there.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite quarterback in Dynasty and redraft for this season?
I'll go first. Let me preface this by saying I don't like any of the 3 other quarterbacks in this division that much. Joe Burrow's a rookie quarterback. I'm never going to touch a rookie quarterback. Dynasty-wise, obviously, I'd rather have Joe Burrow for the long run.
Over Baker,
But-
too?
Yes, over Baker I would.
Okay.
But redraft-wise, I think I would go Big Ben just because I know the production's been there in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I know he knows how to run an offense. I don't trust him that much, like I said with the home and away splits, but I trust him more than Baker. And I trust him more than a rookie quarterback going into the dumpster fire that is the Cincinnati Bengals front office and team. I would
They are
not
a
feel
dumpster
confident with
fire.
Big Ben as my quarterback, but that is the one I would take out of these other three, and I think he'll have the best statistical and fantasy year.
How many years in a row did they have Marvin Lewis as their head coach without winning a playoff game? It was
Since
crazy.
like 2000
Probably
to
like
2018.
Yeah, it was like 16 or 18
and they were
years.
0-7 in the playoffs.
Could you imagine never winning a playoff game in 18 years?
They had good teams. Carson Palmer with Chad Ochocinco was like one of the best quarterback wide receiver duos.
He just scammed Cincinnati out of, I wonder, probably $30 million.
Oh, at least. He was there for 18 years.
Yeah.
I will take, for your question, I'm tempted to take Baker, but I will take Joey Burrow. Just like Drew was saying earlier, he does have that pinpoint precision passing. He's coming into a loaded offense.
Mm-hmm.
I like his chances to
This
really.
is for Dynasty again, I'm assuming, right?
So even for redraft,
okay.
That's a hot
he
take.
can do some big things this year. Listen, he's coming in to AJ Green and Tyler Boyd. They're giving him the keys to the Lamborghini and then the Porsche, and they're saying pick which one you want.
It's like AJ Green's like a 1996 Mustang, I feel like.
Yeah, and Tyler Boyd is like...
He's like a Ford Edge.
Yeah,
SEL.
I was going to say like an off-the-lot Charger.
Yeah.
You're like pretty
What's
good.
what's John Ross? He's like a motorcycle.
Yeah, John Ross like a Lamborghini with 3 wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's got T. Higgins to grow with. And listen, I like him. I like him in redraft at quarterback 16. That's a little pricey, but if we're picking out of these teams, these quarterbacks, yeah, give me Joey Burrow, give me Joey Buckets.
I'll take Baker for both Dynasty.
Interesting.
And
you
for-
take him over Joey Burrows.
I would. He had, like I said, broke the rookie passing touchdown record. You
It's
talk
about to get broke again.
You talk about loaded offense. Look at the Browns' loaded offense. They made improvements at the O-line. I think they spent 2 draft picks there. They've got Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry. That is in the conversation as the best wide receiver group in the NFL.
No doubt.
They've got Austin Hooper and Njoku. That's conversation as the best tight end room in the NFL.
Yeah, and they just made
And
Hooper
they've-
the most expensive tight end in history.
And they've got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. That's in conversation for
Wow.
best running back room in the NFL. They have arguably
They got
one
a
of
lot
the
of
highest
talent.
powered offenses in the NFL. If Baker can be competent there, which I think he's more than competent, and more importantly, he gets decent to good coaching and offensive coordinating, good play action, good smart, like actual building a game plan and not just going out there like you're playing Madden like Freddie Kitchens did. I'll take Baker, redraft and dynasty. I think he's going to have an outstanding year this year.
I think there's 2 things with Baker that I don't like. Because I do like Baker's overall skill set. But he's really bad under pressure. So when the pressure's in his face, he panics and doesn't know what to do. And I feel like playing quarterback is a lot like golfing, where you can't let the mental game's more important than the physical aspect of it. And you can tell Baker was getting frustrated with the way the team was playing, the way that himself was
You
playing.
could see him at the press conferences.
Yeah, I think his maturity has to improve, and his mental game has to improve, obviously, to play quarterback in the NFL. But if those 2 things improve, I can see him being the best quarterback out of these 3. But I don't know. I mean, like, improving while the blitz is coming in your face, it's a hard thing to do when you're at the NFL level.
Yeah, their line was not giving Baker a lot of time last
Yeah.
year. With an improved line, we could see him maybe go back to his form because, just 2 years ago, Baker was a ridiculously good
Yeah.
prospect. So who knows? I mean,
Was
sky's the
last-
limit for that guy.
Was last
on
year
that
Joe
offense.
Thomas's first year retired?
Yeah, I think so.
That makes
And
sense.
That's a big part of it.
They took, I'm pretty sure, 2 offensive linemen in this year's draft.
Yeah.
And I just think that he's just going to take the next step. And I really don't trust Joe Burrow, especially for redraft. Dynasty, I think they're close. It's just the opposite for Roethlisberger. He's a no-go in Dynasty. I'd obviously rather have Baker. Redraft, I could see why you would rather have Roethlisberger, but I don't know. He's just sketching. He wasn't looking that great prior to injury last year. It was only like 3 or 4 games, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like he came out, was playing well, and then got hurt. He came out, was playing like ass, then got hurt for the whole season. So
That's kind of always Big Ben's MO, though. Like, he just comes around and plods around, rushes off some D linemen, and throws a bomb.
Throws 21 interceptions, 30 touchdowns, and 4,800 yards.
Then Myles Garrett spiked Mason Rudolph on the head. That was a good season
I want
last
that to
year.
happen. Over under on 0.5 helmet hits next year.
I go over. It's been a weird year. All the tempers are flaring right now.
Yeah, who even knows if there's going to be a football year this year?
I'm confident there will be.
I think there will be an NFL
I'm
season.
pretty
NFL,
confident
there's too
the
much
NFL
money,
will
and the
have it.
players make a lot of money. The problem
Yeah.
with college football and why they're canceling the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and all this stuff, they don't pay the players.
Uh-huh.
It's really tough to relocate them in a bubble or whatever you want to
You
do.
think the NFL is going to do a bubble or like a few bubbles?
The roster's so much bigger than NBA
I don't
teams.
know.
I don't know.
They could do maybe 6 bubbles or something.
They might. Yeah. I don't know what they're gonna
They
do.
should just
Honestly.
do team isolated bubbles. I don't know why that's so difficult.
I think the Saints rented out a hotel, but I haven't really heard of
They got
any
enough
other
money.
ones. Oh, they definitely have enough money.
Yeah, they more
But
than
do
enough
the
money.
players want to move into a hotel for 3 months of the year?
NBA
you know?
players did.
Tell them to take their damn families.
Well, the NBA players weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
Can't they bring them now?
That's because
I
the
don't know.
NBA set up a campus-wide bubble, so all the teams are in one
Yeah.
bubble together. I'm talking one NFL team just goes to a hotel and says, let me rent out this block of your hotels for the next 3 months and put up my team and their families in there.
I'm sure
Yeah.
the Lions honestly have a hotel for the players next to the
Just
field
chilling in Allen Park?
24/7.
Chilling by
Anyway.
my apartment because my apartments are next to the field.
Probably.
You
I
can
mean,
hang out with Matthew Stafford.
I
before
could
the
imagine.
games, say we have a game the next morning.
Catch
Maybe
a
the
pass
players
from
want
him.
to stay
I would
there.
love
I
to
don't
catch
know.
a pass from Matthew Stafford.
We should have him on the podcast. We'll get him on the podcast.
I'll
Next
send him an
episode.
email.
I'll call him. I got
All
his
right.
number.
Thank you guys for tuning in to the Third Down Punt podcast.
Somebody saw him one time while we were driving.
It was
Wasn't
me.
Wasn't it
you?
Drew? Yeah.
It was me,
I
yeah.
remember you telling the story. Just imagine just seeing Matthew Stafford.
He looked like a 16-year-old driving like a brand new Range Rover, and I looked over to see who this young spoiled kid was, and it was Matthew Stafford.
Next episode, join us with Lions quarterback Matthew Stafford.
You should have said something. You should have waved and tried to get an autograph.
He saw me look at him, and I gave him like a head nod, and he smiled at me and drove off. It was the best moment of my life.
He,
probably.
he's probably used to that.